To commemorate the 40-year anniversary of the Falklands War in 1982, the Royal British Legion organised a service at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. The day-long event, which was held on the 14th of June, marked Liberation Day for the Falklands, the day in which the conflict had ended. Throughout the event, various short services were held at individual memorials in the morning, including a smaller service for HMS Glamorgan.
Today, feeling excited in one way that 40 years on we get to meet lots of veterans and certainly my own shipmates that will be here today as well, but also a sad day that it's 40 years on and we will once again remember those shipmates and other veterans that we left behind, 255, and of course the 3 Falkland Islanders, the ladies that also lost their lives. There'll be a lovely ceremony over there of remembrance, lots of veterans telling their stories. Indeed, I'll be reciting the story of what happened in HMS Coventry. So I think it's important we do this. And I think today will be well supported. It's raising awareness and it's important that we do it 40 years on, lest we ever forget, and we mustn't forget.
The turnout is fantastic. And luckily enough, I'm going to be speaking at the main event this afternoon, which when we did the rehearsal yesterday, it's a tremendous moving performance. People are remembering very well what's going on, and the sheer turnout today, as you can see, indicates that the veterans are still hale and hearty, remembering what they did all those years ago.
I've been part of SAMA for the last 25 years, but this is by far the biggest turnout, and I'm seeing that many faces now. It's but they are faces. When you get to our age, you're not so good with names, but it's the faces you recognise.
In the morning, guests had the opportunity to walk through a selection of small expositions with stands for SAMA 82, the Royal Marines and the Falkland Islands Government Office in the UK.
It's important to show our gratitude and respect and recognise the bravery and the sacrifice that was made 40 years ago for our freedom. And even for someone like me who's born after the war, I don't think that feeling of gratitude is diminished in any way. So it's important to be here today, and it's been wonderful and very humbling to meet many of the veterans and hear their stories from 40 years ago, but also their stories of when they've visited the Falklands more recently, and the friendships they've made and the connections they have.
The main ceremony started at 2 p.m. to coincide with the Liberation Service being held in Stanley. A live video link of the service in Stanley was also shown on large screens for the acts of remembrance. Among the invited guests were veterans, civilians, and bereaved families. Also in attendance, MLA Leona Roberts, who gave a statement thanking the veterans of the war for their service, and the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who read a tribute.
It is a great honour for me to join you today before this extraordinary gathering of so many brave, gallant individuals, so many veterans and their families. Exactly 40 years after British soldiers entered Port Stanley and liberated the Falkland Islands. You left behind 255 British service personnel who laid down their lives for that principle, along with 3 Falkland Islanders.
A flypast then took place, including helicopters from the Army Air Corps, the Royal Air Force, the Royal Navy, and its Commando Helicopter Force. The exhortation was then recited, followed by the last post. Later, wreaths were laid, followed by the singing of traditional hymns. And to conclude, the singing of the national anthem. After 40 years, the names of the fallen continue to live on, their sacrifice a symbol of liberty and pride for the generations to come.